All right. Since this is a spooky episode, we gotta dim the lights a little bit. Get a little bit of a spooky atmosphere. All right, Brendan's gonna dim his lights as well. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's spooky. That's creepy. All right. Also, the frame rate is awful now, but that's okay for me at least. Should I get my flashlight on my phone? Yes. This is okay. This is awesome. Wait, actually, I'm just gonna turn this off and just have. It looks stupid. Actually, this is fine. Actually, yeah, no, I will do this. Yeah, there we go. There. Now it looks like it's like candlelight. That is fucking creepy. Holy shit. You look just like a floating head.
I know. I watched this already.
Yeah. We haven't even started reading the creepypasta and I'm already creeped out. Okay. Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
And my name is Brennen. And let's have a chit chat.
Let's have a chit chat. Welcome, everybody, to the Halloween special for 2022 for Chit Chats. As you can see, we're trying to kind of, go for a pretty creepy vibe here. I think Brennan's getting a lot more into it than I am right now. Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say. So, Brennan, it's good to see you.
Sir.
I mean, I can't see you. Well, now I can. It's good to have you here today for another Halloween special. You may recall. I don't know.
Just keep talking.
I'll just keep talking. You may recall last year, Brennan, and audience members, when we read some creepypastas for the Halloween special last year. And I'm proud to say that we made it another year. We made it to the Halloween special of 2022, as I've said more than enough times now. And for this episode, if you read the title, you already know, we're going to be reading another creepypasta, but only one this time, because we are going to be reading the Ben Drowned creepypasta. One of the original creepypastas, at least one of the most original popular creepypastas out there. Brennan, you want to kind of introduce the general topic of what Ben Drowned is about?
I think I am the perfect person for this.
Yes.
So for those of you who do not know, Ben Drowned is a Legend of Zelda inspired creepypasta. Long story short, we'll get into it, of course, when we start talking about it and reading it. But pretty much a man goes to a garage sale, I think it is, and he is looking at a bunch of N64 games, and he sees one that sticks out to him, and the person selling it says, yeah, you can have that one, take it. It used to belong to a boy who used to live here. And he goes home, and he pops in the game file. He pops it in, and it's a copy of Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. And he sees that there's one file on there named Ben. And he clicks on that file to see how far Ben had gone in the game, and everything goes downhill from that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the general premise. Brennan, I don't know if you know this, but I've actually never read. Well, actually, I think I mentioned this to you earlier through text, but I have never actually read the Ben Drowned creepypasta or even watched a video regarding it. I know the general premise, obviously, but I've never actually sat down and just taken in the story of Ben Drowned. So this is going to be a new experience for me.
No, you know what you should watch after this video, after you record this?
What?
A little shout out to Peanut Butter Gamer.
Oh.
Has a amazing video on Ben Drowned.
Is it the G files?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he used a lot of really cool hacks and mods to the game to recreate some of the things that happen in the Ben Drowned story.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
It's a really cool video. That's one of the original videos that got me really into it.
Okay. Yeah, I know Peanut Butter Gamer, and I know about that video. I've never watched it, though, just because I don't partake in a lot of spooky, material when it comes to online material, because I'm kind of a little coward, peace slur, if you will. But,
I got that.
We're doing it today.
Now.
Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. You know what? Without further ado, let's get into reading this. I have it pulled up here. I'll share my screen with you, Brennan. Um, this is a very this is a very long creepypasta. But we're gonna try to get through at least as much of it as we can. So Brennan, I thought we could kind of take this on a paragraph by paragraph basis here. You know?
Oh, I gotta watch the stream.
Yeah. What is doing that? What is flashing?
Oh, this light that I have here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Based. All right. All right. Turn that
I'm
off. Turn
laughing
that
at
off.
the
Though.
fucking.
That's distracting.
I'm more laughing at the fucking ad on the side of your screen. Stop it.
Oh. Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm gonna get that out of there. I was so focused on your specific little camera that I'm not even paying attention. Okay. We're just gonna start here. Yeah, this is the pasta. So, you ready?
The poster.
This is the pasta.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's read this bitch. You start.
I start?
Yep.
Okay. Post 1, September. Actually, give me 1 second.
Already off to a good start here.
Okay, never mind.
All right, let's do this.
Back into creepiness.
All right.
Post 1, September 7th, 2010. Okay, I need your help with this. This is not a creepypasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could be very well dependent on this. This is a video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room, starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked to say the least. I could finally play all those old games from my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with a yellow controller and a rather shady copy of Super Smash Brothers. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs.
All right. I think we. I mean, I did say I wanted to switch off every paragraph, but we can just start that now.
Okay, that's why I stopped. I was like, "You want to take over?"
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, Fuck Yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd, if you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing. I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon, and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man.
Okay.
Every paragraph.
He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed. Did I say glazed? Yeah, glazed over.
Glazed,
Looked
yeah.
bad. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games.
Okay, I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it almost looked like Majora's Mask, the same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it.
After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was a standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on its in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it.
The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free.
I remember I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since he looked like a pretty shady it looked like a pretty shady cartridge, and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version, a pirated version of the game. That's all I needed it to be, back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. There was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben.
Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3 out of 4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to being in the game but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood.
It's such a shady looking cartridge. I was impressed with how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and then, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes, odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming, because our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regularly went to the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyways. Hoping that would solve the problem, it did, and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name would be in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link though. Frustrated, and with homework to do, I put the game down for the day.
All right, we're getting into the creepy shit. I mean, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm just a little bitch, so you gotta bear with me here. I started playing the game again last night, getting the Lens of Truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those of you who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 000000 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears, and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you are doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared.
However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, the trippy box and arena, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and the background music, which was regular for the arena, but still creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This is definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appears here. I tried moving around the arena, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen. Nothing would happen, though. And this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much.
I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes or no? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, when I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words "Dawn of a New Day," with the subtext, is that I
Yeah.
beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced.
The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having the feeling of inceptible
Inexplicable.
depression on a profound scale. I'm normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that it seemed to wash over me.
I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do when you start from day one, only to find that all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the fourth day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up so as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state.
Every now and then, I would hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so I wasn't sure if I was hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find them. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing, no one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken, hopelessly broken. As the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before.
Dude, I actually feel chills right now. This is not okay. This is not okay. Okay. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out of place textures and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling.
I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape and did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or a Song of Soaring, it would say, your notes echo far, but nothing happened. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the building. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place.
As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy masked salesman smiling at me. Not Link. Me with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clocktown, And to my horror, the fucking statue followed me, and the only way I can compare this is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. Ooh, it's a long one.
Yes. By this point, I was on the verge of
Hysterics.
Thank you. But not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin and make weird animations I had never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around, spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to happy mask salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the swordsman dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic, I just want some kind of insurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but I turned to leave and the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered, while I ran out of the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game warped me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again, as I was given a brief amount of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. This time, aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it was summoning behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in Southern Clock Town. As I ran aimlessly, a sheer of panic. Suddenly, a redeg screamed, and the screen faded to black as Dawn of a New Day and I appeared again.
Ooh. The screen faded in, and I was standing on top of Clock Tower, with Skull Kid hovering over me, again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. But the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a textbook appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee." And I was picked up off of the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him.
I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by unknown force and immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death screen, the faint sound of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On the third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, and all there was an eerie silence. Remember the original encounter with Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the Ocarina of Time to travel back, and either use the Ocarina of Time to travel back in time or summon a giant. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifiedly exploded into flames, and he died.
As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I had never seen him in the game before. His head tilted towards the camera with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen.
Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I returned to the Clock Tower rooftop scene of the rooftop scene of my Link dead and Skull Kid hovering over. The Skull Kid's laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button and then the game booted up again, and there was one more file added below your turn entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before. I deleted it, and the Stone Tower Temple, the moon almost crashed over.
I turned the game off at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone. Only to find that there's a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home.
Sorry.
You're good.
By the way, just real quick, the reverse song of healing is terrifying. I can agree.
I think I've heard it. Yeah, it's pretty. Isn't it the song of unhealing?
Yeah, that's what people call it.
Yeah,
I used it for a skit thing in my English class because it said.
Oh, really?
The thing said creepy music playing in background, so I used the song of unhealing.
Fitting, yeah.
So now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now than I reliving a second time writing all this down. But I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye, and that there's nothing calling to me to investigate this further. And there's something calling to me to investigate further. I think Ben is something in this equation. I don't know what, and if I could get a hold of the old man, I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate after tackling this game again. It's already taken a lot on my sanity, I feel like, but next time I do it, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you'll see the first few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the elegy statue, but it's all on YouTube too.
I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit. This is a little fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker/programmer. I don't want to think about what the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy/paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag the developers had and the other people had gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. This just really scares me. All right, and that was the first post, and we've been going for about 30 minutes now. I want to see how long the second post is. Okay, I think we could read the second post, and then I think we might have to call it there.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So overall, so Brennan, I guess I forgot to ask you. You've read all of this before, right?
I have.
You read
it was a while ago, but
yeah. I'm actually intrigued to see what else happens in this, even though we're not we're only going to finish through the first two posts, but I might go back and read the other three at some point. All right, go ahead whenever you're ready.
I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage, but last night everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed up pretty much immediately after making that thread. But last night, the Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream, and that I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around and that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring at me with those empty eyes right now, nearly inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. But the important thing is I did get some sleep, I suppose.
Today, putting off playing that game as long as I could, I drove back to that neighborhood to see if the old man came back. As I expected, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door mowing the grass killed the power to his lawnmower and asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him that I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. He was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have asked him from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim. and I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after, his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else.
I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen when the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the normal sound. It was something much more higher pitched. My press started bracing for the worst. But just like 2 nights ago, the files, Your Turn and Ben, were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seems to fluctuate between displaying the owl save and not. I brought up the Ben file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as the original were 2 days ago. It seemed like it had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it.
Immediately, I was thrust into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside Stone Tower. Fuck, sorry. I was outside Stone Tower Temple, and that's about all that I was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Stone. And immediately, a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side, where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly, back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed that I had a C button item I had never seen before, some kind of note. But pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip, or some kind of laugh, or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after I was cut into the Dawn of a New Day screen, except this time it was without the I subtext.
I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. The scene would normally play on the first time you travel back in time. Title would say, what just happened? It's as if everything has, but instead of saying, start over, she finished her mark in broken text as the laugh of the Happy Mask salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from my fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub, seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything. I
begrudgingly
went inside the door. There, I was greeted by the Happy Mask salesman, who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen whited out.
I was in Termina Field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the same game anymore. I was being warped around, and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There were no enemies, and a twisted version of the Happy Mask Salesman theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the Happy Mask Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop, same with Epona, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it had been doing all along, just standing there eerily. It was the Happy Mask Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other two.
He too was idle, wearing that shit eating grin. But wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him. Yet his head still continued to follow my movement. Reminded me of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on the top of Clock Tower. I pulled up my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you're supposed to play your ocarina, and tried a song I hadn't played yet. The Happy Mask Salesman owned song, and the song has been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing.
I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The happy mask salesman Twisted's theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me, and Link exploded into flames and died. The three figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I was met with the text, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" For the third time. There has to be some kind of meaning behind that.
I had little time to ponder, as I was immediately given another small cutscene of transforming into a Zora, and I found myself in Great Bay Temple. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where I find sorry,
Where I found Epona. Right
where
here.
I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her there. The game implying she was trying to get a drink. Unable to take the mask off, I decided riding the steed wasn't the reason she was placed there.
Suddenly, I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean, one last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I had never seen a Zora do before, which didn't even make sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died, and again, the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my death. I didn't respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console.
One sec.
Alright, last paragraph.
The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save files had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start and was right. The new save file told me about Ben, how it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape day 4 o'clock down. The two save files told me his fate, as I suspected. Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further, but I'm not. But I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of these files. This is already way too horrifying for me. I don't even believe in the paranormal, but I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just got too depressed thinking about this. The footage is up here for those who want to see it and try to analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of code message in the gibberish or something symbolically in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore.
Oof. Should we watch the video?
Sure.
Alright, let's see.
Since you don't have time to do the third part, we can watch the
Yeah.
video.
Dude, I'm actually terrified right now. Oh, I don't want to watch 6 minutes.
You can skip through part of it.
Okay.
I remember this shit.
Oh, I don't like this. I don't like it. Brennan, I know you're used to this kind of shit, but I'm not. I'm not used to this. Ugh.
Honestly, yeah, go to the end because I want to. This is like the big, not always the end. Back up a little bit.
Okay, like right
Yeah,
here.
like right here. Yeah.
Oh shit. There's that fucking statue. Ugh. I hate that face, dude. Oh no. Oh no.
Something about seeing your character die with just that statue looking over you.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
Oh, and then the infamous. Oh, good job with the fucking placement of that.
Yeah, what the hell? Oh, that's the fucking. I hate that.
Because this is the infamous shot right here. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, Ben drowned. Okay, I think that's enough for tonight. Wow. That was something, dude. That was. Wow, yeah, I actually, like, legitimately was feeling chills from that. I'm not so much anymore, but I am definitely, like, I just. It's just a lot, dude. It's intriguing though. Like I think it's cool. Like like I think it's a very intriguing story. Very descriptive. Like you can like vividly picture everything that they're talking about, like within the context of the game.
Yeah.
And um, all right. I
That's
don't want
like
to see.
that's one of the original images for it,
Yeah.
even though with a terrible fate.
Hmm. Yeah. And I like how in part of it they're like, oh, I was really tired and like I'm kind of fucked up from everything I was seeing, so that's why there's typos. Like I like how they kind of like made a reason for like if
Yeah.
maybe there's grammatical errors. Oh, I don't know. All right, we're gonna go back to a little bit of, a little bit of light here now. Um, but yeah, that was the Ben Drown creepypasta. Only
Yay!
two parts of it, but still, that was a pretty significant chunk. Brennan, thanks for reading that with me.
If you want a good telling of the story, I would recommend going to the Peanut Butter Gamer and looking at his video on Ben
And
Drown.
now that I have some more context for the story, I can watch the Peanut Butter Gamer video and probably get more out of it. Um, and yeah, if any of you watching out there are interested in reading more, it's obviously on the Creepypasta Fandom Wiki. You can read all 5 parts of it, and there's shit ton of videos online talking about it. So whatever tickles your fancy. Um, And thus concludes the Halloween special of Chit Chats this year. So thank you guys for watching. Brendan, thank you for being here. Brendan, like, what are your thoughts on the Ben Drown creepypasta? Like, how would you rate it and all that?
I love the Ben Drown creepypasta. Creepypastas have always been something that I've been into for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorites will always be Death the Killer, the original Slenderman, Chicken Toby, Masky Hoodie. But I always really liked Ben Drown because it was one of the creepy stories that I've read all these times, but it was about one of my favorite games too.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like a combination of
So,
of your two favorite things, like sort of like the horror genre and Zelda. So I feel like
yeah.
it was like made for you almost.
I looked a lot into, and so one of the best things that it talked a little bit in because I before we started I did a scroll through of the creepypasta
Uh-huh.
on my phone.
Yeah.
One of the things it talks about that we didn't get to in the um, post because this is a long creepypasta. It's one of the original like really
Mm-hmm.
long ones.
Yeah.
There's a scene. Um, there's a part of it when do you remember Cleverbot?
No.
It was an old
It sounds
AI.
familiar.
It was an old AI you could talk to.
Okay.
It was like one of the first like responsive AI things
I
you
think
could talk to.
that sounds sort of familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was called Cleverbot, and you could just talk to it.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
in the telling of this story, at one point he says that he started a chat room with a Cleverbot, and he was just talking to it, and it all of a sudden it brought up the name Ben,
Oh yeah.
and he was like, "How do you know about that?" And then it like tries to avoid the question, and he goes, "It's like who is Ben? And it's like, you know who Ben is. And then it's like, how did he die? And it responds with, he drowned. And he has a
Oh my
couple
god.
conversations with a clever bot. And what's creepy is that probably just because of the influence of this story,
Uh-huh.
back in the old days when you used to start a conversation with Cleverbot, you could ask it, uh, who is Ben? And it would respond with just the words he drowned.
Oh, no way. They actually like
Yeah.
programmed it to do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
and
actually really
so
cool. Yeah.
and so like I didn't know that at the time, and it freaked me out because it was just, it was a creepy story
Yeah.
that I read and knew. And so one day when I was just talking about it and I loaded up an AI with Cleverbot, I went, who is Ben? And it just responded with the words he drowned.
Dude, I would have fucking pissed myself if that happened to me. Holy
And
shit.
I was like, holy shit. I don't know if they programmed it to do that or if it just like, it was an AI. So I don't know if it like learned from all the
Yeah,
people
oh my
asking.
god.
Like, I don't know if it just learned from all the people asking because he talks about Doug Cleverbot chat in that story.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if he just got the Cleverbot AI learned and got so used to people asking.
Yeah.
Or like, for all we know, multiple people could have asked it, like, do you know Ben?
Uh-huh.
And then you'd be like, who? And they could say like Ben drowned, and they could have like associated those words and then just figured it out on its own,
Right, yeah.
and would have made it towards like, who is Ben, or how did Ben die? And it would just respond with he drowned, and it was creepy as shit.
Yeah, that is really fucking creepy, dude. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really good. Yeah, I don't know. I have much more of an appreciation for that creepypasta now that I've read a good chunk of it, but yeah.
It
I
is
will.
it is definitely one of my one of my favorites, that's for sure.
Mhm.
It is probably my I love Jeff. I love the original story of Jeff the Killer too much. So that's probably my favorite.
Mhm.
But he's probably Ben Drowned is probably like my. I don't know. For me, it's a combination
All right,
between
next
Ben.
video, creepypasta tier list, guys. Be there for that. It's gonna happen. Just kidding, not gonna happen. All right, guys. Well, either way, thank you guys for watching this episode of Chit Chats. Brennan, thank you for being here, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Chit Chats. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Okay.